Welcome to our webinar series. This is the second webinar in the series. Our first one was pre-season planning and how agentic AI can support that process. And today is in-season planning and how agentic AI can support you in retail. We're excited to be here. My name's Jeff Fish, and I'm here with Roopesh Nair. The two of us lead Intelo. I lead go-to-market and business side, and Roopesh leads all product and engineering. We've been doing this for a really long time. We've been in the technology space for collectively over 40 years. Long history in retail and technology, and been playing around and working in AI for over 10 years. So we're really excited to talk to you today. We have a quick agenda, and then we'll get into it. First, we're going to talk about who Intelo is, and then we will drive into the challenges of in-season planning. And for those that are on the call, I hope that much of this resonates for you. I don't think much of the challenges will be news to you, but the data, proves out all of the proof points on why agentic AI can support this process in a much more efficient way. Then we'll get into the Intelo platform, and we'll go into a demo. So with that, let's get started. So Intelo is a mission-driven organization, and our mission is to really transform how retailers do business. We do that through our agentic first platform that's solely focused on driving efficiency and accuracy. And at this stage of the business, really only focused on merchandising and planning. So this is near and dear to our heart. And we believe that our agentic layer, purpose-built AI agents that deliver efficiency and accuracy for organizations can really transform how you work day to day. That's by augmenting your teams. So building out an agentic team that sits alongside your physical team to deliver unprecedented results. You have the ability to take an individual and add 50, 60% performance to that individual by having an agent sitting beside them. And then you take your teams of individuals and put a team of agents sitting beside them, and it allows you to scale at a remarkable skill and remarkable speed. So let's jump into why we're focused on in-season planning and why we think this is a problem that we needed to solve. And one of really the first problems we've solved for our customers. It's because the challenge is so great. And I think for those of you that live in-season planning day to day, this is not news, but when the numbers are in front of you, it can almost be daunting. The research that comes out is that over 1.8 trillion in annual global cost due to inventory distortions. Now that could be shrinkage, it could be stockouts, it can be overstocks, but $1.8 trillion back into the economy or back into your businesses can really make or break your year well before the holiday shopping season, which, as we turn the corner past summer and into the fall, we're all gearing up for. It's amazing to me, and I think to everyone that looks at the numbers and looks at the average U.S. retail operation has an inventory accuracy of only 66%. And that's in 2025, where we should be data-driven organizations. And the fact of the matter is that most organizations are trying to be data-driven, but they're living in data silos, and the data doesn't connect. So therefore, there's significant challenges in getting to that right inventory accuracy. And what's also even more remarkable is it leads to 38% excess inventory on average for SMBs and 44% for larger SMBs. So it means that not only do we have inventory inaccuracies and we don't have the right product in the right store or the right product in the right distribution center, but we also have excess inventory because we've got the wrong products. So that combination together leads to significant challenges across the board, whether you're in luxury retail, high volume retail, you're in big box or apparel, it doesn't matter. Really across the board, these are challenges that we found that the entire market has faced, and not just now, but for many years. But I think since COVID, the data has been more pronounced. And I think, there's been so many disruptions over the past 5 years. We start with COVID. Obviously, we had all of the supply chain disruptions. We had those labor disruptions. And then we came out of COVID and we thought, things were just going to get better. It's not the case, right? US consumers are reporting stock shortages at unprecedented numbers, 79%. Now, that that is for lots of reasons, right? If every day the tariffs situation changes, or suppliers are moving from one country to the other. Rebalancing supply chains is not easy and not quick. UK shoppers are saying that it's actually worse today than it was during COVID. These are experiences that lead to really bad end customer experiences, and if you've got bad customer experiences, ultimately you lose that customer. And it just doesn't apply to retail, where 30%, 37% of in-store experiences are feeling stockouts, but it also applies to online. And even today, often your online shopping experience and that inventory management and that sell-through experience is actually disconnected from your retail experience, and we're looking to bring that together. We do that with partners, and we do that through data providers. And if you continuously do this, if you continuously have stockouts and a customer walks into your store and they don't find what they're looking for, or they go on your website and it's out of stock or it never ships, ultimately they're going to leave. They're going to find another store to go to, or they're going to find another way to get the products that they're looking for. So we need to solve for this, and this is something that has been challenging for many years, but we believe that agentic AI can really help. Now, what are the root causes of systemic failure of inventory visibility? Well, one is poor data integrity, right? The ability to have all of your data connected, whether you're a very modern retailer or just D2C or a combination through multi-channel. Very often you find that the data is not fully integrated into a data lake or a data lakehouse. So you're not able to connect all of your systems together. And phantom inventory, an area where something shows it's in stock and it's not, this has been plaguing retailers since before the internet, right? And it hasn't gotten much better. So you look at your inventory, it shows you've got 3 in stock, you go into the warehouse and it's just not there. Or you believe that the product should be shipped because the inventory is updating in real time on your website, and it's just not happening. And we need to solve for this. And pulling systems together and not having siloed systems will allow us to do that. And having a single place where we can look at data will allow us to do that. And having inventory that flows across all of your channels and bringing it back into a single location and then being able to engage with that inventory is something that we're looking to solve for over and over again with all of our customers. And even today, labor is a continuous issue. Now, in the United States, we're at 4.2 to 4.4% unemployment. We've got unemployment and employment challenges, issues around the world. But 71% of retailers say labor shortage is a main problem during peak season planning. And when we're in peak season and we're about to get into that, I've never heard a retailer say, "Oh, I've got too much labor," or I've never heard a planning team or a merchandising team saying, "You know what? I don't need these people." There's always a shortage of people. And then the supply chain constraints, like I mentioned earlier, just continues to expand with tariffs and onshoring and reshoring and bringing things to different countries. So these combination of pressures just lead to ultimately bad outcomes for your end customer. And then executives have a false belief of what's really happening, right? Executives go into season, and we're about to go into it, with 93% confidence that they're going to have a great season. They're going to have the right inventory in the right store. They're going to have enough inventory stocked for their online experiences. They're going to be able to stock their TikTok store. They're going to be able to stock their website inventory and all of their physical stores. And then, an influencer blows up your stock immediately and changes everything. Or a shipment doesn't come, or an event happens and no one thinks about it. Reality is about a 35% difference between the expectation and where you get to. So there is this misconception at the executive level about where you are going into season, which we're about to do, and what the outcomes are at the end of season. So we want to be able to help you with that. We want to be able to help you close that gap from 35%, maybe not perfect, but 5 to 10%. So you don't have a crystal ball, right? And it's very, very blurry. And when we think about what those outcomes are, full 30% of executives admit their forecasts are less than 70% accurate. So if you're coming into season and your forecast is less than 70% accurate, that's a lot of money left on the table. That's a lot of lost sales that are happening. We want to help you with that. Right? We want to help you deal with not just looking at last year's inventory and last year's sales and the year before that, but looking at all of the information that should really be driving into your decision making. And that decision making is intensely important based on weather, based on physical events that are happening, based on market volatility, based on what could possibly be happening today in the tariff situation. You need up-to-date real-time information. Agentic AI can help you with that. Agentic AI can significantly decrease the forecasting challenges that you faced. You know, an example of a retailer got 600 basis point improvement in forecast accuracy. If you can do that in this season, and we're going into season, you look like a superhero. If you can increase it even more into next season, your team looks like superheroes. And something that we can't solve for alone, but a fragmented tech stack, and I believe, and we believe, that you're not going to change your tech stack this year, next year, year after, all of it, right? But what you can do is you can unify data. You can bring data into a single system that can manage it. And having agents help you with that will absolutely help you with your strategy for this season, for next season, and going forward. So kind of what are the things that we think are imperatives to do to support your capabilities? Well, one is getting the data in the right place. We can help you with that. We can help you manage your data. And in fact, our next webinar will be purely around data and how to manage data in forecasting. We can help you with workforce challenges. So I don't think any CEO is telling anyone on this call or anyone that might be listening to this later, you know what? This year, go hire 30 people. You're going to be able to support this. We'll make sure that you have enough labor to support you. They're not going to do that. It's never going to happen. It's certainly not going to happen in this market. So what you can do is you can bring agent teams alongside you that can support you and can help you accelerate your work, make your work more efficient. Agent teams do not sleep. They do not take breaks. They do not take vacation, and they'll be able to work alongside your teams to close that gap. From an operational perspective, thinking about external variables, thinking about things like the tariff situation or weather or outputs, these are things that agents can help you with. And then something that we don't do, but it's something that we certainly see that is important, thinking about your partnerships, your 3PL providers, your OMS providers. These are some areas that certainly we can help in discussion, but something you should be thinking about long-term to solve for in-season strategies. So how do Intelo agents solve for this? Well, one, we do constant and advanced forecasting, right? Our agents analyze thousands of internal and external variables that deliver accuracy and data that perhaps your systems don't have the capability to, your teams haven't thought about. If you're not using an extremely modern system, just wouldn't be even on the radar. So that's one. Operational reality checks. So as I said, our agents don't sleep, they don't eat, they don't take breaks. So they're constantly running operational checks against your system, and they're running that through workflows and through the agentic layer to make decisions. The ability to do volatility planning. So looking through disruption scenarios, thinking about plans for labor volatility for a physical store or for the distribution center. And then I think the most important thing around in-season planning is factoring in your allocation, your replenishment, your rebalancing as agent teams working together to think about all of the capabilities that fall into place for getting that right product to that right store. So if you've got an issue with a product in Las Vegas, it's not shipping properly, not selling properly, get it to your store in Miami. Perhaps there's an event there. Right now in New York, there's the US Open. Factor those things in so that your New York stores are fully stocked. The agents will do that for you, and they'll give you those best recommendations to support your needs. So our agents, and there are lots of agents that are out there, are purpose-built, as I went back to our mission, to deliver specifically for merchandise planning. Our last webinar, we talked about how we've got agents that are purpose-built and preloaded with capabilities to solve for 80% of what every customer needs for pre-season planning. What you're going to see in a moment are agents that are preloaded, that are factoring in 80% of what you need for in-season planning. Our experts and data team have thought through all of the challenges, and there's always more challenges. That's why our agents are fully configurable and are interactive in the same way you would interact with a chat GPT or a Gemini, where you can update it and have conversations with it to tie it to your capabilities. But 80% we believe we've already solved for. That other 20% really comes from your data. So as an organization, your last year's data, the year before's data, the inventory and sales data, that will close that gap on the 20%. And that's where the agents become very personalized and very tied to your brand. Now, our agents are in a multi-tenant SaaS, so trust is a key factor for us. This is your data. It doesn't get shared across any other organization, but it is plug and play. So you could be up and running in 30 days without having to do any integrations. Now, of course, we love integrations, so we've got integrations with standardized with Snowflake, Databricks, and all of the other data providers, and we'll continue to build out integrations for our customers. And if our customers have very odd or strange integrations, we can do those too. With a modern agent system, you can do that. You do have that conversational collaboration. So rather than having to, create a help desk ticket or call your AE or your sales rep to make a change to your product, you just have a conversation with your agent through your agent admin, and you can update the agent capability that way. We do believe that data is infused in everything we do, and you need to be able to report against that. So your store managers need to have a dashboard that they can see, that they can view on a daily and weekly basis. But then also your CEO and CFO need to be able to see information. So you'll have configurable agent updates that you can provide depending on role and position. Now, that can be updated through Slack, it can be updated through Teams, we can send an automated email, or they can just log into our system. Now, I mentioned that 20%. That 20% is really in configuration, and the agents with that configuration feel totally customized. So rather than having to go to a heavy platform where you do large amounts of customization, you can just go through configuration with our teams and stand up those agents very quickly. With that, I think I'll hand it off to Roopesh to talk through the agents that we have available and then take everybody through a demo.
Thank you, Jeff. The best way to understand the Intelo platform is to see the Intelo agent network in action. Intelo provides agents across the entire merchandise planning lifecycle, starting from the merchandise financial planning to then getting into, for brands who build their own lines, getting into the line planning, where you can actually build out the line in collaboration with the merchants and the product team, and eventually be able to kind of forecast out the raw materials which might be needed to get the line to life. And then once the line is in place and the financial plan is also in place, you could build out an assortment plan at a door level to be able to kind of then able to place the purchase order and also be able to pre-allocate some of the items directly to the doors you might want to allocate to. And then eventually the in-season management agents, which is all the running of the operations during the in-season and managing allocation, replenishment, and then also looking at sales, which is getting lost, and ensuring that you're constantly tuning your strategies. Now, each of these agents could come in live in a platform like this, where you have a chat-based interface and a dashboard, which kind of is very similar to traditional merchandise planning platforms, but is built as an agentic solution inside it. Now, it could also be accessed through your Microsoft Teams environment as an application, which you can access at your fingertips, or other tools like Slack and any other conversational interfaces. If it's a dashboard-based interface, you can actually access it by just clicking on the area in the dashboard, or actually by typing in a command, talking to the agent of agents. Let's say we click on one of the areas in the dashboard and try to get to the allocation agent. The allocation agent is constantly looking at opportunities which it can find to ensure that the allocation is smoothened over a period of time. You can try to act based on the opportunities which the allocation agent provides to you, or you might want to basically go ahead and do a specific allocation task which you are assigned on that particular day as an allocator. You can quickly start allocating that assignment. Let's say you're asked to allocate all markdown SKUs. You can quickly type in and get to all the markdown SKUs, and then basically let the agent do the heavy lifting of really finding the data, looking at all the constraints which you want to apply, and then really understanding the availability across the doors. And then based on that, finding the allocation proposal by looking at deficit at a SKU level across doors and ensuring that the allocation agent makes the best decisions based on the inventory which is available in the warehouse and the on-hand units and in-transit units which are in the store or in any door for that matter. Now, to be able to make the prioritization of allocation and the quantities associated with the allocation, the agent creates a demand model on the fly and understands based on the configuration of ideal weeks of supply, historical data which we need to look at, and factors like that. It tries to understand what the demand is for every week looking forward, and then uses that to figure out the target stock level which is needed in that particular door, and then just uses simple math. The agent just then uses simple math to ensure that the availability of the doors, which is defined as how much on-hand units you have as compared to the target stock level, which the agent determines to really make decision on what to allocate from the warehouse, and also has prioritization rules when it comes to kind of picking which warehouse the allocation needs to happen from. Now, you could take this, and literally export the allocation summary, or actually go in and get the data for allocation and get it out to the warehouse, or look at it manually, update it, and push it back to the agent to process it. Or you could do things like, I want to understand, I'm doing a 20% promo for women's bag for Labor Day. How does that change my allocation strategy? And in this case, typically you would have to kind of run analysis across spreadsheets and things like that. Now, the agent does what you would have done in that context, creates the new target stock level based on trying to understand how the promotion is impacting the demand, and then based on that creates a new proposal for allocation, which then you can take a look at and use. You could again approve this allocation and move forward, or you could choose to change some aspects. Like, for example, you might determine that there was a different trend in the recent history for bags, and you are like, for bags specifically, I want to consider 12 weeks of history and use that for doing my allocation. So it goes in, it tries to understand what the impact of that is, and goes and creates a new allocation proposal based on that history. The same way, you can go look at all the impacts which are available. You can scroll down. You can look at units available, units that were proposed by door. You can look at units that were proposed by category. Any other dimensions you want to split your units allocated by. You can actually look at, if you are still trusting the agent, you can actually look at the data and start questioning the agent on the data set, and then work around with it. You can eventually then approve the proposal or actually push the data to the warehouse so that it can be picked up for processing. I think we are right on time. Why don't we take